in political journalism. And this morning, CNN anchor Abby Phillip is joining us to talk about her brand new book.
Dream Deferred explores how Reverend Jesse Jackson, how he fought for black political power, and he helped to shape modern American politics. Good morning to you. Thank you for coming in and talking with us.
Good morning, Allison. Thanks for having me.
Yes, good to see you.
Now we're getting into the book, but we have to ask you now that you're here. Big election coming up in the Commonwealth tomorrow. How big of an indicator do you think these results will be on what's going on a national basis?
Well, you know, I'm a DMV girl, so I'm used to these what we call off-year elections being incredibly significant because they are the leading indicator of what the mood is nationally and what is going to be coming down the pike. And I do think that this is a moment where when you have a president who is termed out, like President Trump, he may not necessarily be acting with the political interests of the party in mind because he doesn't have another election, or at least not that we know of. And so I definitely think this is one of those unusual years where you have a national mood that actually is kind of turning negative, but the White House isn't acting that way. And you'll start to see it turning up in places like Virginia and New Jersey. But the thing about Virginia is that it often goes the opposite way of leadership in Washington in these off years. So it would be typical to see with a Republican in the White House, a Democrat win the governor's mansion. What also happens down ballot is also going to probably tell us more about those individual races. But this is a national mood off-year election that we are gauging in a couple of important places. These purple states, and I don't know that I would ever consider New Jersey a purple state before now, but it is more of a purple state than it's been in a while, and it will tell us a lot about how upset voters are with the people running government in Washington.
Right. Let's get into the book now. Let's talk about Reverend Jesse Jackson. One of the things you talked about in the book was when he ran for president in 1984, because that was a very pivotal moment. A lot of people thought that was for show and he was just putting on a show. But you talked about how it wasn't a show because once he started touring and going to these rural places, there were people in rural America, white farmers, who were showing up to his rallies, and then it was like, oh, this is legit.
Yeah. I mean, I think that everybody thought that he was just trying to run to make a point, but then what happened was that he started actually campaigning and gaining momentum, and suddenly establishment Democrats had to pay attention. He was in a major fight with the leading Democratic candidate for black voters in the South, but also he was going out into rural parts of the country, to Texas, to Missouri, to Iowa, and he was talking to white farmers and talking about farm foreclosures, which was a big issue at the time. What ended up being the real story of these campaigns is that Jesse Jackson was actually able to build a movement around populist economics. And by the way, that's something that we're seeing showing up in politics right now. You have all these candidates like Bernie Sanders. Remember when Bernie Sanders shocked the establishment in 2016 and 2020? Well, he was continuing a campaign that started with Jesse Jackson. So we're not done yet with the kind of politics that Jesse Jackson was running on. And there is something about American voters that they're very interested in outsider candidates. They're very intrigued by it. And they certainly want candidates to start talking about their day-to-day economic lives and where they think the system isn't working for them as well.
I remember it well. Run, Jesse, run. I was a young person then, and it was really interesting to see the momentum. Gotta try to get this in before you leave. What do you hope readers take away from the book and the legacy of Jesse Jackson? He's
a multifaceted figure in our politics. I think everybody thinks that they know him. They think that they know him as a civil rights leader and an activist. But this political chapter is very much undertold. There's not much history written about it, and it's incredibly significant. We wouldn't have had Barack Obama without Jesse Jackson. And in fact, right now, I think we are starting to see, modern day politicians taking a look back at some of the messages that he ran on and asking whether or not they can resonate today. So it's not just about history, it's also about our present day and perhaps where the country and some of our politics is going in the future.
It is fascinating.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Real quick, what was Jesse's response to this? Has he,
well, at first, I mean, if you've met Jesse Jackson, he has a lot to say. He has a lot to say about his own legacy. And I think he wanted, he was sort of like, well, we could do this together. And I had to say, well, sir, this is a book. This is a history book. I'm going to tell it all. And he was happy to participate, and I'm grateful that he did. And I'm grateful that I was able to speak with him while he's still with us. So many of the people of his generation are not, and he is. And it was an important opportunity to get the stories directly from him.
Right.
So thank you.
Great.
CNN's Abby Phillip, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank
We
you,
appreciate
Phil.
you.
Great to see you.
All right.